What's up, guys? It's MB Boxing. I just finished up watching Ra'eese Aleem versus Sam Goodman, and this was a 12-rounder for the IBF super-bantamweight world title eliminator. And this fight was Saturday, June 17th from the Gold Coast Convention Center in Broadbeach, Australia. And this fight was broadcasted on Showtime. And in this fight, which was a very, very good fight, Sam Goodman was able to eke out a split decision victory over Ra'eese Aleem. I personally scored this bout 114 to 114, a draw. This fight was mainly fought between two halves. The first half was predominantly more in favor of Ra'eese Aleem. However, the second half was really dominated, especially in the later rounds, by Sam Goodman. So I scored this bout a draw. I had it 114 to 114. I think it could have went either way, but I would say that it most likely did edge in favor of Sam Goodman, especially with his very solid work in the later rounds. But the three judges scored this bout pretty wide all the other ways. One judge had it 116-112 in favor of Aleem, which I do not see. And the other two judges had it 116-112 for Goodman, which I also kind of don't see. And they also had it 117-111 for Goodman, which is kind of crazy as well in my opinion. So I don't really think the judges got this one right. I think it most likely probably was like either 114-114 or 115-113 for Goodman most likely. But I do think the right man got the nod. Even though I had it a draw, I think it would be more edged in favor of Goodman, especially how the rounds were going. And just to break down my scorecard round by round, the first two rounds I thought were pretty similar. I gave them both to Ra'eese Aleem. He had the harder and better shots, but they were both exchanging. It was a very fun fight overall. Then in rounds 3 and 4, I gave them both to Sam Goodman. He was controlling the rounds a bit, controlling the pace in those two rounds moving forward. Looked very, very solid. However, rounds 5, 6, and 7, I gave them all to Ra'eese Aleem. I thought that they were pretty close, but I thought Aleem was just landing the better and harder shots, the more eye-catching shots, even though Goodman was the one pressing and sort of controlling the pace. I thought Aleem was landing the better shots. However, from rounds 8 through 10, I thought there were clear rounds for Sam Goodman. He started to press Aleem. Aleem started to look a bit tired, and Goodman was doing very, very good in those rounds. But then round 11, this round was razor thin, in my opinion. I thought it could have went either way. I just edged in favor of Ra'eese Aleem. I thought he was sort of back in it. He was throwing some nice three-punch combinations to the body and to the head as well, especially with those hooks. And both of them had very good hooks in this fight, especially Sam Goodman's left hook to the head was a very solid shot that he was landing throughout. Then in the 12th and final round, it was also a pretty close round, but Goodman had a good finish to the round, going to the body a bit. And in the end of this fight, actually, the punch tests were very, very close. Ra'eese Aleem had actually an edge, an 8-punch edge, landing 140 punches to Sam Goodman's 132. But it was a very, very good fight. Props to both fighters. And Sam Goodman getting the nod in his home country of Australia. So what is next for him? He's now 15-0, getting an amazing win over Ra'eese Aleem, who is like a top 10 to even close to top 5 contender in the super bantamweight division, winning by split decision here. I think for Sam Goodman, since he's winning an eliminator, he will now most likely be the number 1 ranked contender in the IBF. The world champion is Marlon Tapales. But, I mean, if he doesn't fight, obviously, for that world title, because I'm not really too sure if Tapales is going to rematch Murodjon Akhmadaliev, who he did beat by split decision for the belts. So I'm not really too sure if they're rematching. But if they're not rematching, I definitely could see a clash between Akhmadaliev and Goodman for the unified world titles. But if Goodman doesn't fight Tapales, I could see him fighting any of these names. Considering that this was a Showtime broadcast, I think that they could bring Sam Goodman back on Showtime again, maybe bring him to the United States, and maybe have him fight in a final eliminator or for an interim IBF title against John Real Casemiro, maybe Luis Neri, someone like that, because those two guys are ranked highly by the IBF at 122 pounds. So I would not mind seeing either of those fights against Sam Goodman, or possibly him fighting for the world title, because he earned it defeating a top-tier opponent in Aleem for an eliminator. But as for Ra'eese Aleem losing here for the first time in his career, this was his first fight out of the United States, and it was definitely a tough loss because he was slightly favored in this one. But, I mean, it was still a very, very good fight. But I think he's going to go back to the United States, take on some decent level competition, but really try and build himself back up to where he was going into this fight, because he was really at the cusp of fighting for a world title and just lost it here. So I think he's just going to try and rebuild himself back up and take on some decent opposition. So overall, Sam Goodman just defeats Ra'eese Aleem by split decision, handing him his first ever loss and getting the best victory of his career by far, improving to 15-0. And yeah, that's really it. I'm MB Boxing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.